Hello, everyone. My name's Victor, and I'm an idiot. So let's start off with that. So I got every A Realm Reborn Zodiac Zeta weapon while on free trial. Okay, so this video is not going to be a guide or tutorial. I'll just give some advice for people who are on free trial, but for some steps, because there are plenty of videos out there that are informative and it will help you kind of get through the steps. The wiki's pretty good for that. It's going to be kind of like my experience and why, for the most part, besides me just being a fool. Um, so we'll get into that. First, I'll say that, like, yes, I did purchase the game. As of the making of this video, it's on special right now for like half off. So I did purchase it. I just haven't put in the code you need to put in to download it at all because I wanted to get some content knocked out first. And then I also knew that some people just wouldn't believe me if they didn't see me go and show everything capped off at 60. Because otherwise, why would you be stupid enough to do this, right? Also, keep in mind if you're watching this a few months from now, um, they've added Stormblood to the free trial. So some of these, they may end up nerfing some of these requirements, though I doubt it. Most of this information will still be applicable, but the basic gist of it may or may not apply. So with that out of the way, let's start with just some general overview of what you need to do. So my first recommendation is don't do what I did and do it at level 50. Get at least one character, maybe two, through Heavensward. Just do Heavensward. My actual recommendation would be skip the ARR relics and do the Heavensward relics. They're a lot easier. They take less time, less grindy. Even on free trial, like most of the stuff is just tomestones. Just farm tomestones and do your duty roulettes, and like you'll have them in no time. But we'll follow that video up. Second, I would generally recommend. There's a few reasons to do the Heavensward first, and the biggest one's going to be all your crafters and gatherers are going to need to be at least level 50. Now, I leveled mine the hard way because I'm a noob who didn't know any better. But once you get through Heavensward, you open up Ishgardian Restoration, and it's generally considered the best way to level your crafters and gatherers, except for fishing, which is ocean fishing is the best way to do that. I would recommend you go ahead and do that. A level 60 gatherer, crafter and gatherer are going to make doing the crafting portions of all of the steps much easier. Like, just get it out the way, and then, like, there's no reason to do this before you finish Heavensward. Like, finish Heavensward MSQ, whether you go through the patch content or not is entirely up to you. But open up Ishgardian Restoration, get your crafters and gatherers leveled before you even bother doing this. It's going to save you a lot of time and a lot of headache. Especially, like, even the first step requires at least one of them to be at level 50. And you don't want to have to go and, like, just craft ingots for days on end like I did and constantly farming crystals just to get a gatherer up to level 50. So, like, the big things are you're gonna have to finish level 50 MSQ first, regardless, and your level 50 job quest before you even start the relic quest line. So, I would finish Heavensward. If you're doing Stormblood, maybe finish Stormblood if you're in the future, and that's part of the free trial too. Being a higher level is also gonna make any character you do. It's just you're gonna do more damage just by having better equipment, even if you are synced down. It's just kind of a stat squish thing. So I would recommend that. As far as like the things you'll need to do, like the big problems are going to be you have no access to the market board. So one step in particular, step number 5, the materia step is going to be extremely tedious, and it's possibly the hardest part. Now, if you're not a free trial player, every guide out there is going to say, well, this is an easy step, just go buy it from the market board. But that's not really an option. So we're not even going to address the market board. Also, like, the second to last step is going to require you gather and craft some items at high quality that probably you would just get off the market board. You're not going to be able to do that. And so that's going to be your second biggest problem, is that you're just not going to have enough gil. Like the free trial has a hard gil cap of 300,000 gil. And the problem is the second to last step is going to require at minimum 430,000. And it's probably going to hover more around 500,000. And that's per job. So uh, being capped at 300,000 is not going to be helpful. So that's another reason I'd say you should do Heavensward first. Just unlocking the hunts and using the hunt board and killing the marks will give you about 30 to 40,000 gil a day. And it'll just make that whole process much, much easier. So with that being said, we'll kind of go through some of the steps that you need to do. This isn't going to be a guide telling you who to talk to or what NPC to go to or any of that mess, because they got plenty of those out there, and most of them are pretty informative. It's just going to be kind of an overview of what my experience as somebody new coming to the game, playing on the free trial, how I kind of ended up doing this, and why I ended up getting all of them. So we'll get into that. So the first recommendation I would have is pick up a blue mage. It'll make some things a lot easier, most specifically doing the blue mage quest in the mass carnival, whether it be the weeklies or any of the regular ones, will give you allied seals, and you can trade allied seals in at your grand company for aetherite tickets. And aetherite tickets just let you teleport for free. And when you're doing something like this that requires a lot of gil and you're capped at what you can have, not having to pay for all the teleports is going to be extremely helpful. So I would recommend you get a blue mage. Now you don't need to go and max it out and get every spell, but just enough to kind of get you through like maybe a weekly or two to kind of help like offset the cost of all the teleporting. Okay, so that out of the way. So I didn't have any MMO experience, so certain things just were just kind of new to me. And like to avoid spoilers and all of that, I didn't look up a whole lot of guides or information. I just kind of played through A Realm Reborn, did the MSQ, I completed the ultimate weapon, and then I thought like the next thing up was Heavensward. And like you'd see people kind of walking around with like these glowy weapons and whatnot, and you just kind of wonder, well, like I assume that was all just like in-game, late-game content, and that I would get to it eventually. So I did the MSQ, and then I did my level 50 job quest. So I started off, obviously, as base as can be, as a gladiator paladin, and as a gladiator paladin cat girl. So here it is with my nice little Zeta weapon. And I did the job quest, and they give you the job gear, the paladin armor or whatever, and it's kind of hideous. It's like all white and like really bulky, and I didn't like it, but I was more just like, they didn't give me a weapon. So I ended up just taking one of the quests that sends you on the path to do the relic weapon. But I honestly thought that the first step was it. I didn't know anything about like patch updates and relic weapons and how this all works. Like I said, I was a noob. I didn't have any idea what was going on. So I leveled up my blacksmith to level 50 to make the weapon I needed for the first step. And then, lo and behold, there's a second step. But and I can figure out what I needed to do for that because I wasn't paying too much attention to it. And that's when I finally looked up a guide and saw how many steps there were. But then at that point, I saw that it glows at the end. So I was like, well, we'll do that before we start Heavensward. So I started doing it with my paladin. Okay, so this was probably not the best idea. As I said, you should probably just finish Heavensward first. You'll have more experience at the game. You'll be higher level. Everything will be easier. And like, it's going to be a grind. The first one's always going to be rough, especially if you did it the dumb way that I did. That's why I don't recommend you do it. But I really got held up on a few steps. So the first step held me up for a bit, not even so much for crafting the weapon. It took me a bit to get my blacksmith up to craft the base weapon you need to do to turn in to get whatever. The second step, the Zenith step, is pretty simple. You just buy the 3 mist or whatever, and you do that, and you get your first glowy weapon. Even the Atma grinding wasn't all that bad. Like, it's grindy, but like I'm on free trial doing a grindy thing. Like, it didn't bother me all that much. The books, I think anybody in the community is going to have their opinions about the books. Like, it's not fun, it's not great, it's not the worst step. Not on free trial. It's because you can do them at your own pace, and then like honestly, once you get 2 or 3 characters in, like they kind of go pretty quickly because you start realizing where everything's at, when everything kind of goes off. Like the fates may be a pain in the ass waiting for them to spawn. Like especially that one in that one that like you have to be there when it starts, or you basically just lose. They call it surprise or whatever. Like that one's not great when you pop into the area and you see it's already been on for 2 minutes, and before you get there, it's already over with. You know, like some of these things are just, it's kind of like the cost of doing business sort of thing. Like, I wouldn't worry too much about it. Just gonna take it at your own pace. So like, there's no difference in doing the books as a free trial player or like even a paid player, except for that maybe as that if you're like level 80 or 90 or maybe even 70 if you're doing Stormblood stuff right now or in the future free trial, that you could probably solo more of the dungeons a bit easier. Like, but honestly, at level 60, you can solo most of them. I mean, if you want to use the books to level up some of your characters, that's not a bad idea because you can get from like level 50 to like 56 or 58, depending on like buffs and whatnot, just by doing the books. And that was kind of where I ended up towards the end of doing all my characters. Was that, hey, getting these guys to 60, I might as well just do the books, and then like the rest of it just we'll get the rest of the steps done as we do them. So the big hurdle you're going to run into first is actually going to be step 5, the novice. The novice step is going to be the biggest pain because you don't have materia. Like if you're a sub player, you just go on the market board, you buy like your 55 or 60 materia you need for like the level 1, and then you just do it. Like the Alexandrite farming's a pain, you need tomestones for that. But like that's not even that bad because you can just dungeon duty roulette to get more tomestones if you need them. Like like you just kind of get hard capped at where you can get materia. This is kind of what happened where I started getting more weapons for more people. Because initially I'd only just done Paladin, and I was only gonna do Paladin until I got through Heaven's Word. And then, kind of level up other jobs that I might want to play or not play. I mean, we're still early in the game at this point. I didn't know what jobs I would like or not like. And the idea of leveling everything up to 60 was kind of daunting. And I think a lot of people probably go through that, though that's not that bad. Um, so when you reach this materia phase, there's going to be 2 ways you can get materia. The first is going to be transmuting materia, and you do that in the central Thanalin with bubbly pots, and that's where you're going to get most of it from. So I recommend you unlock the Ixali quest. You do the Ixali quest, and the last 2 NPCs for the Ixali quest give you oak knots, and you can trade oak knots in for like 5 craftsman materia 1. You transmute that into 1 like regular materia you might need. As you can tell, this is probably going to get very, very tedious because the only other way is spirit bond. So when you extract your materia, you're going to get materia based on the type of equipment you wear. So this is where leveling other characters came in. Get some spirit bond potions from your grand company or your adventure squadron. Get the little notes that you get from sending them on the advanced spirit bond notes you get from sending them on missions, and just do like level 30 dungeons with some like, what is it, like level 25 to 35 or something like that. I would look up the actual numbers, but it would just give me flashbacks. But like if you're wearing like level 25 to 35 gear and you do like Sunken Temple of Karn or Tamtara Deep Croft, like you can get your stuff spirit bonded pretty quickly, especially if you're leveling characters through level like 20 through 30, up to like level 40. And you'd need to do that a lot for at least Materia 1. And Materia 2, you're going to need quite a few of too, but you're going to need way more Materia 1. You're going to need at least 55 for every character. And you're going to need like 11 of 5 different kinds, if that makes any sense. Like, because you have to put, like, I'm not going to go through the steps of what you have to do, because they can show you. I'm just trying to give you some hints on like what you can do to acquire the things you need to do. So once you get through that, because that step's bad and it takes a while, but you can get everybody through the books, and you can have as many of those materia scrolls as you need. Like, you can only do the books one at a time per character, one book at a time on one character at one time. But you can do the materia melding scroll. You can have like 4 or 5 of them. And that's basically how I got most of my characters leveled, was running dungeons and just like spirit bond extracting materia. And so like it didn't feel like a complete waste, but it's also kind of how I got everything and why I ended up getting all of them. Because once you get all your characters up to 50, then like doing the books, getting them up to almost 60 just seems like a natural kind of course, because you'll get a weapon out of it afterward. The next step after that is step 6, and that's your light grind. Now, most videos are going to tell you just to do Aurum Veil. I'm sure they've timed it or whatever. And if you're at like level 80 or 90, or if you're playing Stormblood in the future and you're level 70, that might be the best way to go. But at level 60, it's kind of a slog, and it can be kind of dangerous, and it's certainly not the quickest dungeon to do your light grind on. Quickest one I found was actually Sestasha. With some jobs, actually Tamtara Deepcroft was quicker, but both are going to average between 4 or 5 minutes depending on the job. But because they're level 15 and you're like almost level 60 at this point, you can get through it pretty quick and just you'll one-shot most stuff. And it's going to take 4 or 5 minutes. If you're not getting bonus, it's going to take a few runs. There's no quick way to do this. You got to do it whether you're a free trial player or not. So you just kind of knuckle up and get through it. Maybe do one run, and if you're not getting bonus, come back and do it in a few hours, because the bonus window cycles every like hour or two. But just do Sestasha. And like if you prefer to do Tamtara, but you're going to need to do that one for a later quest. So it could get kind of tedious doing that over and over and over again. Like Sestasha, Aurum Veil, and Tamtara all offer the same amount of light. So you like do whichever one you feel is quicker. If it takes some experimenting, do that. I didn't do that. I did Aurum Veil with my Paladin as a tank. It pretty easy, but it's not a 2-minute run. It probably took about 8 minutes per run. Just because like you just don't do that much damage to level 40 something stuff when you're level 58 or 60. For like my Black Mage and my Ninja, which is the second jobs I did Paladin, then Black Mage, and then I did Ninja. Basically, as they started to cap out at levels, I would switch to a different job, because like if you got to run the dungeons anyway, or if you if you're doing books, you're getting them up there. Like, why would you waste free experience? But for these, I actually did the Crystal Tower. But I wouldn't recommend doing that now. It takes a while. I only did it at the time because I knew I would be doing Heavensward relics for at least 3 jobs. I ended up doing more than that. That's another video. But you need the ether oils, and one of the NPCs used to give you an ether oil for doing the Crystal Tower. So I did Crystal Tower to light grind for my Ninja and my Black Mage, and collect enough ether oils for the Heavensward down the road. Kind of just some basic prep work, but that they don't offer that anymore. So just do Sestasha and be done with it. The next step is going to be the items that you have to get. And this is going to be your Gil Sync, and this is why you should be doing your hunts through Heavensward, because you can't buy the items ahead of time until you unlock them. After you unlock them, and once you turn one in, you can get another one or whatever. So once you get through the first step of it, doing the rest of them can be pretty easy. You get 100,000, you get another one. But you're capped at 300,000. So My only real suggestion for this, other than doing your daily hunts, your Heaven Ward, do Heaven's Ward, you'll get probably 30 to 40,000 gil for doing these clan marks, and do some of the ARR ones too. That's why you should finish Heaven's Ward. 30 to 40,000 a day, so in a couple of days you can get another thing. This becomes kind of a slog towards the end, but it's not the hardest part at first. So do those, and if you're going to do, as far as buying the items, do the ones in Mordona first, and the one in Central Thanalin do last, because he asked for the item last. So they ask you to turn it in at different points, and you'll have to do dungeons, but he makes you do the dungeons before he asks for the Furite Sand, so just, you can accept the quest and do most of the quest line until you have enough money to turn into him. And then, like, crafting the stuff, you just have to deal with that. Like, the only tip I have for the crafting items is the Belladine Silver. You'll need from a treasure chest. It's the only way to get it if you don't have access to the market board, obviously. And for that, I would just go to Morby Dry Docks and look for Pistaskin maps. I can show you where that's at. Maybe we should go there instead of just standing here on the beach. Like right outside the city in Morby. You just take your miner and farm for him. And then yeah, like right here. Like this spot right here. You just zoom here. And then in this area, you turn your miner on. There's when you see the map. You turn your miner on, and then you farm for. They only drop from Boarskin and Pistaskin maps. Now I'll get the Pistaskin maps because they have other stuff that drops that's better. And then from there, that's about it. Because the next step is the Mahatma grind, and you can do that at Tamtara Deepcroft. That's the same for anybody, I think. So yeah, it's just kind of a quick overview of what I did and how I did it, and we go through some character portraits real quick, and then we'll go through the titles. So we'll go through the portraits. So this is my paladin if you want to see what the weapons look like. My black mage. This is the order I did them in going up. Ninja, then I did white mage, then I did bard and summoner. Scholar. Scholar was easy because I had done summoner first, so Scholar was already kind of leveled up. I soloed most stuff with that. And dragoon, monk, and warrior. And I only saved warrior for last because I started with a tank and figured I'd end with a tank. So, you can get 3 titles for doing the Zeta Quest line. So the first one, wait, I didn't want to mount. Switch. Bard. So the first one's going to be obviously the letter Z. So you get the letter Z for completing a Zeta weapon. You'll see them all about because people are proud that they've done it. And I wore mine for a long time. Well, long comparatively. I haven't been playing all that long. You get your title for Z. Okay, the next one you get, if you do every job, every ARR job, why is it wrong thing? Yeah. If you do every ARR job, but you only need to do the first step. You just do the first step of every ARR job, you get this title for Armed to the Teeth. It's called the Insatiable. So this one's pretty nice. You see this one from time to time, but I don't think as many people recognize what it actually is. I actually kind of prefer if it was just called Armed to the Teeth. And I think I wore that one for quite a bit. And then once you finish a job, now I did the quest after I did everybody, but I think you can pick it up after you do one of them. There's a quest where you go and you do extreme trials and you turn in 50 Alexandrite, and that's for, I don't remember what the name of the quest line is, but it's Gerald gives it to you, so you just do it after you're done with everything. And that one unlocks the kettles, and it'll give you the title Carrier of the Kettle, which I can never seem to find. I probably skipped over it. Here, I'll just show you my adventure plate, because that's what I put on my adventure. So yeah, it gives you carrier of the kettle, and you can buy these Nexus kettles. Now it doesn't give you the actual kettle weapons, which are monk weapons. There are 3 of them. One of them's just plain, one's Nexus, and one's Zenith. It actually gives you this Ultimate Kettle Nexus, which is an outdoor furnishing, which I cannot use yet because I'm still on free trial. So as soon as I get some kind of area and cash in all my stuff and continue, then we'll do that. So I hope this has been informative. Just kind of like a base overview of what all the jobs are and what all the weapons look like. We can go through them real quick from descending order, just so you can kind of get a look at them and see if this is what you want. You can compare them with my next video, which will be about the animal weapons from Heavensward, because I did all of those too. As I said, I'm a fool. Now, some of these I do like more than the Heavensward weapons, and some of them I think the Heavensward weapons are nicer. We'll talk about those more whenever we get to them. They're definitely, the Heavensward ones are definitely glowier, and in some cases that's not great. In some cases it is pretty good, but that's all going to be a personal preference thing too. So I hope it's been informative, and if you have any questions, feel free to ask. Either if you're watching this on YouTube, ask in the comments, and if you want an immediate answer, you can come watch us on stream at twitch.tv/VictorIsPerfect. I'll leave a link in the description, and I can give you some more in-depth information. But if I went through like step by step, this video would be like an hour long, and I just kind of wanted to give a showcase and some tips for anybody who might be wanting something to do before their free trial gets extended to Stormblood. We will be doing Stormblood MSQ in probably a week or 2, give or take. I'd like to give Palace of the Dead one more try. We'll be doing a follow-up video with the animal weapons probably in the next few days. And so hopefully you enjoyed this, and like and subscribe, and I hope to see you soon. Thank you.